Well, watching all of that, I tell you what, it isn't easy to be a Liberal supporter at the moment, is it? After Scott Morrison lost government 4 years ago, it's been a sorry tale of decline, and despite a small window of hope in the lead up to last May's election, by the time the campaign rolled around, Dutton and his side were dead. Very little in the way of strong policies and very little in the way of fight and conviction. But given where they are now, Dutton's 31% primary vote last May looks positively brilliant alongside the latest result from his then deputy, now Liberal leader, Susan Lee. And here are those numbers. The latest Redbridge-Accent poll published today in the Australian Financial Review has a primary vote of just 17% to the Liberals. Add that to the Nationals on 2%, you've got a new record low for the Coalition, an absolutely appalling result of just 19% primary when both are combined. Now, there's no way you can spin that result as anything other than diabolical, because it is diabolical. And what would worry me now is not just that the Coalition vote's in the toilet, but that it is consolidating, voters are consolidating in their new home. And their new home is an old one, a home that's been around some 30 years, the home of the much underestimated Pauline Hanson and her party, of course, One Nation. Later in the show, I'll be speaking with the man who put that poll together about what he believes is driving the Coalition vote to One Nation. I'll also ask him too if that vote also now includes Labor types, as it's climbed to that record high today of 26%. But before we do that, I want you to have some perspective about those numbers. Because while the Liberals are in trouble, the values that Liberals normally care about, the issues that their former voters want the politicians to focus on, they are not. It's worth pointing out that the combined Liberal plus National plus One Nation vote is high at 45%. And that exactly equals the combined Labor and Greens vote on 45%. These, of course, are primary numbers I'm talking about here. And given the One Nation surge, it's a safe bet that voters on the centre-right are more focused on conservative issues and values than anything offered up by the Teals. After all, Pauline Hanson's been against mass immigration, against net zero, and for national symbols like the flag for the whole time she's been in public life. Meaning, in party terms, yes, Labor's got a massive majority in the parliament. In terms of the values that voters believe are worth fighting for, in terms of the issues they care about, between the left and the right, things really are neck and neck. And this is where I get so angry with the Coalition and with the Liberals in particular. If Liberal MPs were to do the right thing by the party in terms of the values it used to stand for in the past, values that were the mainstay of leaders like Menzies, Howard and Abbott, they would be back in the game. But when they don't, when they play footsie with the left, when they try and turn themselves into a party of left-leaning Liberal elites, as they did when all those bedwetters elected Malcolm Turnbull, and when they jumped on the net zero bandwagon under Morrison, they lose. They lose, and they lose big. And when they lose big, when the Liberals are reduced to a handful of seats in the Parliament and spend most of their time bickering amongst themselves and not doing the hard policy work that must be done to be competitive, Australians, well, you are the biggest losers of all. Because we do not get good government when we have a weak opposition. And by God, I have never seen a weaker, more pathetic opposition than what we have now. A 17% primary vote today. No real policies to speak of. No fight in the dog to take on one of the worst, most hard left governments in our history, led by a weak man who's only made stronger by the Liberal Party's collective lack of performance. If Liberal powers to be want to know why so many of their now former supporters are angry, this is it. They are not just disappointed with their side, they are furious. And they are jumping ship to One Nation because it's about the only option they have left to try and make the clowns that run the circus wake up and listen. Now, the next election should be a contest given the weaknesses in the Albanese government, given the manifest failures of this weak Prime Minister and his hapless front bench. In all probability, tomorrow there will be a rate rise, with the prospect of 2 more mortgage rate increases this year. Now, if that happens, over 4 million Australian households will be thousands of dollars worse off a year. Renters too, they'll be in trouble. And for everyone else, higher inflation means a hit on your power bill, at the Bowser, and everywhere else where you're buying the essentials of life. The Treasurer, Fig Jam Jim Chalmers, well, he can boast all he likes about his economic management, but it's his inflation that's driving up interest rates. And as confirmed by almost every expert in the country, it's government spending that's driving inflation, up fully 2 percentage points of GDP under this government. Now, the Prime Minister's solution to every problem is more spending and more bureaucracy. There are currently nearly 50,000 more public servants in Canberra under Labor. There's massive new spending on childcare and the NDIS, including handouts to private businesses to fund wage increases, meaning taxpayers are pouring billions into for-profit commercial companies, meaning that more than 50% of Australian households are now dependent on the government for the bulk of their income. That's either because they're welfare beneficiaries, government employees, or working in subsidy-dependent industries. Meanwhile, Labor's green obsessions and union dependency are badly damaging the productive economy, which ultimately has to pay for all of this spending. Here is former Labor Cabinet Minister Joel Fitzgibbon on this very point.
We now have very sticky inflation driven by both cost push and demand pull factors, and of course the crowding out of the market by government spending and the addition it contributes to aggregate demands. And I see in the media today those geniuses in Labor's Environmental Action Network want to kill the most productive part of the economy, the mining sector, by attacking again the diesel fuel rebate. Let's put that idea aside.
Don't we all long for the days of sensible Labor in charge, men like Fitzgibbon on the Labor right? As he rightly says, productivity is flatlining. The near impossibility of getting any new resource projects approved means the inevitable decline of the exports on which our prosperity depends. And because Labor treats fossil fuels like they're some sort of kryptonite, eventually we will lose 2 of our 3 biggest exports, coal and gas, with no foreseeable replacement. Then there's power prices tipped to rise by 24% this year. There's been subsidies to drive the uptake of unreliable renewables, subsidies for coal-fired power to keep the lights on because renewables are not there when we need them, and subsidies for consumers, you, to avert bill shock. Now too, there's yet more subsidies to stop the collapse of all our heavy industries who can't afford power in this country. Most troubling of all, the Albanese government's using record migration, net overseas migration, close to 1.5 million since they were elected, to mask its economic ineptitude. More people pumps up our overall GDP, but the figure that counts, GDP per person, well, that has declined in 7 of the last 11 quarters. So you and your family are feeling poorer, well, that's because you are. That's why. Thanks to inflation, interest rate rises, bracket creep, Australians have suffered a 5% fall in real disposable incomes over the past 3 years, the highest in the OECD. Then there's the rise of radical Islam. Prime Minister can't bear to even say the phrase. He will say that's all fixed with the latest round of laws he put through the parliament, the so-called hate speech laws. Yet why should the new laws be any more effective than the old ones, given they've never been used against Nazis? They've been used against Nazis, but not against the Islamists that seem to have such a hold on Labor governments. Now, I can't remember a worse government. Yet by default, it will continue to survive as long as there's no credible alternative, as long as the Liberal Party stands for nothing. And as those coalition or could be, would be, maybe coalition MPs are still apart, sit around and ponder their future this week in Canberra, I want to remind those who might have forgotten that the only time they've done well from opposition is when they have not fallen into the trap of being a weak echo of Labor. Now ask yourself this: are the Liberal voters now telling pollsters they're supporting One Nation? Are they looking for a teal party, a teal Liberal light party, as some of you think they are? Well, of course they're not. You only have to ask the question to get your answer. They are not turning left Liberals, they are turning right. And whether you agree with her or not, they're looking for the sort of courage and conviction that they see in Pauline Hanson. Now, if the Liberals can't summon up that courage and policy soon, if they can't sort out their leadership and their coalition status, and believe me, they may not be a Liberal Party left.